All right, let's take our first look at the Draftkings main slate for this week. I love the first look because it's just raw, and I am struggling because every week I want to take a look at this before I go live, but I want to be surprised live on show. So, looking at Oklahoma Temple leading us off, 51.5 over under 38. Oklahoma 14 basically for Temple. Oklahoma coming off their massive performance. John Mateer properly priced at 9,400 because he can run and throw. That's a fair price. I think we're going to end up on some of him, though. No doubt about it. Temple, by the way, we're full of void. No shot. I'm playing Temple. I don't like their coach. I'm not a Casey Keeler fan dating back to his days at Delaware. And I'm not playing them. Jay Ducker, the clear lead back and probably the best option for them, but they're going to get destroyed. Jaden Ott, no shot. We're going to have to wait a while. I don't like anybody in this backfield. It's too ambiguous, it's just split too many ways, and I think Ott eventually emerges, but 7,100, no shot. No chance I'm ever going there. Burks, that's probably a hair expensive for me, but depending on the rest of the value on this slate, we'll see what ends up working in. Obviously, this is the first game I've seen. So, decent price on Keontez Lewis. Maybe we could end up there. You could maybe take a shot. If I was going to take a shot, it's on Bermudez, Jojo Bermudez. 3,600, that's reasonable. If the pricing is super tight this week, sure. Maybe. Holloway's the second option with Chase, but I would prefer Bermudez most likely. All right, let's see. Wisconsin, Alabama, 47.5 over under, 34 Alabama. They're going to absolutely destroy Wisconsin. 13.5 for the Badgers. Wisconsin's about to go on an epic run of awfulness for the rest of the season. As soon as they get past this Maryland game coming up, Luke Fickell is going to be in the depth. Ty Simpson, 7,700. Maybe. No shot I'm touching a whiskey quarterback. Did Billy Edwards even play last week? I didn't get to see the Wisconsin game last week. So there's a chance. Okay, well, it's a void either way. It's not like I would play them, but it will matter for the wideouts probably. Danny O'Neal will chuck it, but not great. Dylan Jones, lead back, no thank you. They're just in a weird situation. They don't want to go to him fully. Alabama running backs haven't exactly been doing a whole ton. Maybe you could take shots on Richard Young, depending. Is Jam Miller going to be back? Chance to play. So, yeah, we'll see. No shot. I'm playing Jam Miller at 6,500. Maybe you could end up taking shots on Richard Young if we get there and they're playing, but it just depends if we need the value or not. Ryan Williams probably returns if I was to guess. 8,300, large price tag. I'm going to go with this until I'm proven wrong. Give me Jeremy Bernard every week over Ryan Williams. So until Ryan Williams establishes himself firmly as the wide receiver one on a week in, week out basis, I'm going to take Jeremy Bernard at 7K over him every week. So I would much rather play Bernard. If you're going to play a Bama wideout, it's Jeremy Bernard. He's playing great. He's the top option in this offense. Ooh, okay. If you're going to end up playing a Badger, it's Vinny Anthony for me at 3,700. Nice score lines first 2 weeks. He scored against Miami of Ohio, scored against Middle Tennessee. I know it's Alabama. They're a lot better, but he's really the number one option in this offense for me. Kekahuna, he's just priced way too much more than Vinny Anthony. Vinny Anthony, clear top option if I was going to play a Wisconsin guy, but it's also a very nice value on him at 3,700. You know they're going to throw the ball. So I can see buying into that as the week goes on, depending on value. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see, but we saw what Mateer's pricing is, so you might end up having to take shots. It might not be nearly as loose as it was last week. Probably the game of the early slate, Clemson, Georgia Tech, 52.5 over under, 28.5 Clemson, 24 Georgia Tech. Klubnik certainly overpriced for what he's done over the first 2 weeks of the season. He's got 22.7 combined between the first 2 games, and we need probably 27 to feel like we got our money's worth out of him. So he's going to need to step it up, and Georgia Tech's no pushover. That's going to be a tough price tag to swallow. We will see. I need to see this update. Yeah, nagging lower body ailment. So that was what I was wondering, is did they keep Haynes King out of that Gardner Webb game just because why bother? Like, there's no point in playing him week in and week out. He'll be interesting this week. I love Haynes King, but at the same time, he's just constantly hurt. And if he's already banged up after week 1, I loved him against Colorado, played a ton out of him. 7,800 is a fairly hefty price tag because I think this Clemson defense is good enough. So that's kind of tough one to go with there. I am waiting for the Gideon Davidson train to leave the station here. I don't think Adam Randall is going to be the long-term answer. I won't play Adam Randall at 6,200. No shot, no how. Phil Maffa, I would have played at this number, but not Adam Randall. No, thank you. Jamal Haynes, probably not in play for me at 6,700. I will be playing Haynes later in the year, but not in this matchup. Clemson D-line, too talented, too much capability. I'm not the biggest Jamal Haynes fan. I much prefer him. I will play him, but he needs to play like North Carolina or Wake Forest for me to be all in on him. Antonio Williams, no shot. I'd take this chance at 7,400 with a hamstring. You can aggravate that thing. I'm not going to take the risk at 7,400. That's too much to pay. Bryant Wesco is too cheap. I will play Bryant Wesco a ton at 5,600. I'm biased. He's one of my favorite players in the country. He's come on strong last week, looked fine against LSU. 5,600, far too cheap for him. Malik Rutherford, Eric Rivers, nice price tags on them. If Haynes King is a go, Aaron Philo is a go, then I'm probably a little more out. But Wesco, clear option for me. He would be, he's going to end up being a core play, I would bet, for me in this type matchup. TJ Moore in the pool, but I'm going to 100 times out of 100, I'm playing Wesco for a cheaper price tag. If Williams is out, Tyler Brown is going to end up being the slot option. I have no issues playing him at 3,800. You don't have to stack him in with Wesco. I mean, you could do a Wesco Brown, but I don't think this game shoots out. So Wesco, top option for me. Then I would probably go Brown, then Moore when looking at this Clemson pass game. And I'm only going to play the Clemson pass game. Usually I'm going to want to use one of the wideouts and no Klubnik, but then I probably will have some Klubnik mixed in here and there. Looking at Michigan, Underwood, everybody's going to be down on him after last week. We just kind of haven't seen much mobility. I know there was like a talk of him being like a Cam Newton-esque prospect. He hadn't run it. He's got 5 rushing attempts all season for -6 yards. So don't quite get that one. Maybe the comp's a little off. He's big, but he ain't running. So he looked fine against New Mexico, but that was the worst defense in the country last year. Oklahoma, he struggled. He just didn't push the ball down the field. But they don't have weapons to push the ball down the field, so I kind of get it. He's a stay away until I can feel okay. Central Michigan, no shot in hell. 42.5 over under in this game. 35 points for Michigan. 7.5 for Central Michigan. not touching a Central Michigan player, not touching the Michigan pass offense. I have no issues loading up on Justice Haynes here at 7,400. I learned my lesson week 1 of Jordan Marshall. I'm not paying over 6K for Jordan Marshall. I would rather find the 1,300, pay for Justice Haynes. That's fine, but he's the only guy on this Michigan offense that I am willing to play. David McCulley should be the wide receiver 1. Samaj Morgan banged up last week. So let's look at Oregon, Nebraska, Northwestern. I am going to refrain from my slander of Big Noon on Fox for going there. 51.5 total. If the numbers have changed, they've changed. I get them early in the week. 39.5 for Oregon, 12 for Northwestern. I'm not touching Northwestern. No shot. Preston Stone, 4,800. It's a reason. Dan Lanning's absolutely going to kick the snot out of them. Dante Moore at 8K, not a bad price tag relative comparison to Klubnik there. Moore's playing pretty well. He looks good in this offense. Mekhi Hughes, 5,700. So he went from 7,500 to 5,700. Still not in play. Noah Whittington destroyed my soul last week to an extent. I had a team that finished top 50 in this kickoff tournament, and I had Noah Whittington on the team, and he had 4 carries for 90 yards and a touchdown in about 5 minutes of the game, and then never played again. So that's the risk of this team. They could get 12 running backs involved in this thing, but if Whittington can get 15 carries, he could be 25, 30 points. He needs to get some extra work, and maybe they need to get pushed. Cam Porter for Northwestern is out. Hyman is going to be the lead back, in my opinion. Can he do anything against Oregon? I don't know, but 3,900, maybe you want to consider that he's a cheap, deep option. Jaden Lamar looks to be the number 2 back here. At 3K, I think there's a lot worse options to take a punch shot and say that Jaden Lamar ends up being the one that gets enough work. But it's one of those situations where if Whittington probably scores and it's a little safer, but at 3K, I have no issue taking shots on Jaden Lamar, certainly. I was 100% right last week on my Decorian Moore is going to have a good game and break out. He had 23 points. That worked out big time. Sadiq still kind of banged up. I think already he got banged up last week a little bit. So we're going to have to wait and see there. I don't know what they're going to do. Griffin Wild's the number 1 wide receiver and the only wide receiver you could ever think about for Northwestern. I'm probably still staying away. Gary Bryant, solid wideout. Justice Lowe's priced because of last year, not this year. Benson's kind of starting for them. So, I mean, Decorian Moore, if you want to take shots at 5,900, I get, but it's going to be highly variable because of the large spread in this game. I probably would want to take my most shots on Jaden Lamar here at 3K. I like that price actually a lot. Let's look at Georgia, Tennessee, a game that I've bet the under on. 50.5 team total in this one, 27.5 Georgia, 23 Tennessee. Gunnar Stockton at 6K. I like that price tag. He looks pretty mobile. He's been running a little bit, like 10 for 73 and 2. Now, granted, Marshall might be the worst team in the country. They are absolutely atrocious. Just didn't convert any touchdowns last week against Austin Peay, but still looking good. I think against Tennessee, he's going to be needed a little bit more. So I actually like that price tag. No shot in hell I'm playing Joey Aguilar at 5,300. I'd play Stockton all day over him. That's interesting. But Nate Frazier at 63, meh. Like, I don't love that. This Bowens kid actually played pretty decent last week. Yeah, 11, 56, and 2. But it has what is McCray doing? I don't know what's going on with McCray because everybody talked about that being a big pickup, but I never really saw it at Illinois. So, but maybe I don't know. But yeah, it looks like he's the clear top option. Who knows what's going on in this Tennessee backfield? I think Bishop's the one. I think Peyton Lewis is the 1B, and I think Star Thomas is the 1C, but they're all going to get carries, and this is not a matchup you want to exploit, but they're the best options in this offense because, as you'll see, they have no wide receivers. Matthews, not good. Brazel, I mean, he can catch a deep ball here and there, but he can catch a deep ball. But, I mean, yeah, like I said, but he struggled a bit with Syracuse. Syracuse stinks. Zachariah Branch, I don't mind that price tag at all. He's a big play walking. Colby Young looked really good last week. I think at 4,500, he's in play. If I was going to pair up Gunnar Stockton, it would be with one of those two personally, and I have no issues playing them stacked actually in this game. Granted, your upside's limited more than likely because I don't think Tennessee's going to be able to score very much. Tennessee team total under. Good bet this week. All right. Oregon State taking on Texas Tech. Texas Tech looking very good so far this year. Bayron Morton played last week. 61.5 over under, 43 points for the Red Raiders, 18.5 for the Beavs. The Beavs look absolutely atrocious. Bayron Morton at 7,300 is a steal. I will play Bayron Morton at 7,300. They were overpriced last week. I was worried about his injury. Why the world they were even playing him against Kent State, but he's still racking up points. And look at that. Remember how we talked about 8,700? Cade Klubnik, he needed about 27 points to pay out. He needs 22. He's hit it in both games, and he hadn't played anybody, and at least Oregon State might hold up a little bit more resistance than those two. So I love that $7,300 price tag on Bayron Morton. I will have shots on him. He will be in a team for me in this tournament trying to win $50,000 on the back of Bayron Morton, which I would be stoked if he won me any big amount of money because I love the kid. Malik Murphy, no chance. I'm not touching him. Oregon State has looked absolutely abysmal. Hankerson, heck no. He's overpriced. No shot I'm taking any shots there. This Texas Tech defensive line is stout. Williams and Dickey. It is a argument weekly as to who the starting running back is going to be. I read it in Discord every week. Everybody's like, well, is it Williams? Oh, is it Dickey? I don't like this guy. I'm going to drop him for this guy. Like, it's just nonstop. So I'm avoiding that backfield completely until somebody emerges. Maybe if one of them got hurt, I'd be all in on it. I almost played this kid last week. I should have because he ended up being one of the best values at 3,500, but it was because it was a blowout. But he's pretty good, this kid, Adam Hill. And they are really short in the backfield, as you can see. They have Joyner, who's out. And then the rest of the players on the roster are Henderson as the RB4, Hill at RB3, and the two starters. They only have 4 running backs on the roster right now. So that is your, short bench. I don't mind taking shots on Hill. I prefer Jaden Lamar by far and away in that situation. The upside is limited for Hill, especially if this is a closer game than Williams and Dickey. But any blowout situation for the Red Raiders, Hill's going to get a ton of work. What is the wide receiver pricing? It is much better this week. Okay. Caleb Douglas is going to come in probably with the lowest ownership if I was to bet because he has not produced yet, but he is a big play machine. I don't mind paying $6,500 for him. I think Eakin probably comes in with the second most ownership. He's caught a touchdown 2 weeks in a row. People are going to box score watch. Virgil's coming in with the most ownership, as he should. I like this kid. He's caught 3 touchdowns in 2 games. The production hasn't been up there yet, but at 5,400, he's got the best price tag out of the bunch. He's got a good target share so far. and he was very good for Miami of Ohio last year. I think he's a good play. Him and Bayron stacked together is probably the first thing I'm going to throw in a lineup when I go to build. I mean, we can go ahead and just make a first impression lineup here. Why not? Let's do that. So there you go. So that would be my first stack going in. Trent Walker, he gets a ton of targets. If they're going to stay in this game, it's going to be on the back of Trent Walker. 7 and 9 catches. Have no issues throwing him in as a bring back. Also, don't have any issues with Taz Reddix as a bring back. He had a ton of targets last week. I would prefer. I mean, the price difference is a lot, but I definitely would prefer Walker to Reddix. But it's one of those situations. What do you have available to you? We kind of really haven't seen a big running back value or big running back yet, but that's going to change here in a second. Pittsburgh taking on West Virginia. Backyard brawl. 57.5 over under. 31.5 for Pitt. 26 for West Virginia. I'm really tempted to bet a lot of money on Pitt, but it's at West Virginia. No Jaheim White for West Virginia makes me nervous. I don't know that I can play Nico Markiel. I just don't trust Rich Rod to get him the work that I want. And who knows what he'll do. He'll bring in Jalen Henderson. I just don't trust Rich Rod whatsoever. Eli Holstein at 7,400. Probably in my pool. I wouldn't cut him out yet. 4 touchdowns each of the first 2 weeks. He's got mobility. He looks good early in the season. He did last year. Early in the season before they just absolutely took a dump. What is this price tag? Okay. 8,500 for Des Reed. The rushing attempts have not been there to start the year. The explosive touchdowns have not been there to start the year. They haven't been pushed, though. This is a game I would expect that he ends up with 15 carries and 5+ catches. With explosives, I think he's got at worst a 20-point floor with upside for 50. I mean, he's got the most upside at running back on the slate. He'll be hard to keep out of your lineup. Who's going to end up starting for Jaheim White if you were going to play somebody? So Clay Ash or Sincere Bowers. I mean, let's see. What did Ash do last week? 4 carries for 2 yards. Nope. What about Bowers? Where is Bowers? What did Bowers have last week? 1 carry for -1 yards. Okay. Well, that's going to be a situation to monitor, people. West Virginia, who's going to start at running back, is a situation to monitor because they're cheap, and somebody's going to get a lot of run there. So that is an option, certainly. Pitt spreads the ball around a ton. Kenny Johnson's going to be one of your top targets, but they just spread the ball a ton. Like Raphael Williams, similarly, he's going to spread it around. Like he went from 1 catch for 45 yards to 5 for 81 and 2. So there's no guarantees. Sincere Lee, what's up with him? He hasn't played. Okay. But that's your starting 3. Cam Vaughn's your number 1 for West Virginia after coming over with Rich Rod. Don't know that I would lean into that. I don't trust the pass game there. We'll have to wait and see. These guys aren't terrible options. If you are stacking Holstein in a lineup, I have zero issue going Holstein, Reed, and one of the 2 wide receivers, probably the top 2 between Johnson and Williams. I have no issue playing all 3. No doubt about it. All right, cover boys coming right here. I've been playing him every week. He's been producing massive numbers. If you haven't, I should have pulled the Jacoby Lane catch and put it behind me. If you haven't seen that, go watch it. He high-pointed the hell out of that ball while he mossed him. It's USC at Purdue, 58.5, 39, almost 40 points team total for USC and the Trojans, and a 19-point team total for Purdue and the Boilermakers $8,900 DraftKings dollars for Jaden Maeva, and they are worth every penny. The kid's playing out of his mind right now. Love him. Playing great. 36 points, 27. They're just absolutely smoking teams, and Purdue isn't much better. Purdue might put up a little bit more of a fight. I am a Ryan Brown fan. I appreciate what he did in that week one when I touted him, but two terrible teams that he's played. He's got a little rushing ability. Don't trust the passing ability. This is a much different opponent in USC for them. Let's just throw him in. I mean, it's hard for me not to want to. So we're going to throw Maeva in and see what we can build here. All right, Wayman Jordan, very good player. There's going to be games where Maeva doesn't get there because Wayman Jordan gets there. Very quality running back here. They did a heck of a job letting Quentin Joyner go to Texas Tech, not because Joyner tore his ACL, but because they ended up paying way less by buying Wayman Jordan and letting Quentin Joyner walk. No doubt about it. He's in the pool certainly at 7,600 because there's going to be plenty of games where he ends up stealing the work from Maeva, but Maeva is just a stud. I love the kid. Devin Maccabee, 5,400, reasonable price tag on him. USC, good defense. They're upgraded. If you want to take shots on Maccabee, I get it. If you were trying to project a bring back here, but I'm probably he's going to be in my pool. I just don't know how much I'll play of him. Price tag's too cheap on Mekhi Lemon and Jacoby Lane. They should both be 7K again. They were for the late slate last week. It still wasn't enough. I played a ton of Lemon and Maeva stacks. I will do it again this week. 4 for 158 and 2. I mean, look at the yards per attempt that Maeva had last week. I believe it was 17 yards per attempt. Look at that. I mean, that's insane. 17 yards an attempt. He threw 412 yards on 16 completions. That's ridiculous. So give me that all day long. I love it, man. He's mobile too. He just hasn't had to run yet. But that is a beautiful set of stacking right there together. Michael Jackson, fine for Purdue. He's played fairly well. That week one game, he played very well. Week two, nothing. I think we're just going to see that just jump all around. If you want to play Jacoby Lane, you can. No issues there. I'm probably avoiding the rest of the targets. It's a very top heavy pairing between Lane and Lemon for Maeva. I don't love playing anybody for the Purdue side from a pass catching standpoint because Ryan Brown not exactly the most adept at throwing the football. Iowa State taking on Arkansas State. Terrible that they have to travel. I still think it's ridiculous. They got to do a better job scheduling here. 55.5 point over under. 38 for Iowa State, 17 for Arkansas State. Rocco's too expensive at 75. I love Rocco. I'm never going to not love Rocco. That's too much money for him. He shouldn't be priced more than Bayron Morton. I will appreciate if Rocco has a big game. It's just he's going to be able to run the ball, but they're not a super explosive offense. Jalen Rayner is one heck of a player. He's a poor man's Byron Brown. He can throw it a little bit. He can run the heck out of the football. I just don't see me wanting to play it. I think this Iowa State front seven is actually very good. They've really put the clamps on guys. So 5,500 is a very fair price tag. I just think this matchup's too difficult with Dominique Orange. Big squeeze up there in the middle. Man, that's what I was hoping it wasn't. So I was really going to bank on the fact that Carson Hansen hadn't scored yet this season. And I thought to myself, well, if he was 5,800, I'd be all in. Because I think this is a matchup where Carson Hansen scores at least one touchdown, maybe two. But I wasn't expecting him to be 6,800 because Abu Sama really has performed well with him. So I was hoping that Sama was in this 49 range and Hansen would be at 58. Hansen at 68 puts a real damper on my opinion there. Maybe I end up in there, but man, that sucks. I'm not happy about that. I'm really not happy about that. Corey Rucker, top 3 FCS wide receiver for me. Been a G5 wide receiver. Might as well be FCS eventually. But very good G5 wide receiver. He hasn't started the year super hot, but I would expect he ends up putting up some big numbers. Man, DK still just disrespecting the guy. Okay. There's 2 plays for Iowa State. If you're going to play an Iowa State wideout, I don't think you really necessarily should. It's not Chase Soule. It's not Gabe Burkle because he's the backup tight end. I have no issues playing Ben Bramer as the wide. He's basically the wide receiver 1. He's caught a touchdown both weeks, scored fairly well. That score is wrong, but because that's 6 and 12, that's 18. So it should be 18.2 or 18.1 and 11.8. At 3,800, I'll take that all day long. Bramer's a clear top option. And if you want to take a big play threat, thinking Rocco hits some deep shots, it's Eskildsen. So I have no issue playing Eskildsen there. So he's in play and Bramer's in play. Both of them would be in the pool for me, certainly. Let's look at UTEP and Texas. The Arch Manning Tour, Revenge Tour moves on. Malachi Nelson, no chance. Let me see how Malachi's been doing. Former 5-star. Absolutely been atrocious to start his career. Didn't play great against Utah State. Played much better against Tennessee Martin. Whoop-de-doo. We'll see. It's going to be terrible against Texas. 9,500. That's a hefty price to pay for Arch. I'd rather pay for Maeva. I just know he's going to get the work. So Wisner's out again. Baxter stays in. 7,500 for Baxter. He's very Carson Hansen-y. Can you pick on one of these other guys? Because you got to think this game's a big blowout because there's no offense on UTEP that's going to be able to keep them in there. Christian Clark played a good bit last week, maybe. Jarrett Gibson played a good bit. I think you can take shots on a Texas running back, but I don't know. I think we're going to end up seeing a lot. I would rather play Jaden Lamar at 3K than a Texas running back probably down here, just in case it's another Arch blow-up game. Wingo, that's the ultimate GPP shot to take a shot at 7,200 there. Livingstone continues to be too cheap at 3,500. I'm just going to keep playing him. I'm just going to keep playing him at 3,500. Like, just throw him in right now. It's pointless not to. He's just too cheap. Why? Why do they keep doing this? It just makes no sense. Makes no sense to keep putting him there. No sense whatsoever. I don't get it. All right, looking at Miami, South Florida. By the way, Texas game. They're projected for 46 points. UTEP 4.5. Tempted to take the team total over on UTEP, thinking they just scored 1 touchdown. They just need something stupid to happen. Miami, USF. This is a big game, but man, big spread too. Miami 54.5 over under, 36 for the Canes, 19 for the Bulls. Byron Brown, anytime he steps on the field. 6,400 for Byron. Probably a hair pricey. Miami's stout along that defensive line. They're weaker on the back end, so I might take shots on Singleton. Carson Beck, 7K, not mobile. No, thank you. Not touching him. I just don't like Carson Beck. Sorry. Mark Fletcher, in play, certainly. Shamar Brown looks to have passed up Jordan Lyle as the second option in his backfield. He was the North Dakota State transfer. I think he ends up being the number 1 running back on this roster eventually. I don't mind taking shots at 5,900. That's not terrible price there. Mark Fletcher, though, I mean, he just has the trust of the staff. I think he's probably the 1 with a 1B here. Jordan Lyle stinks. The running backs for USF, no chance in hell. They're just not great. Cartavius Norton, he's been at like 4 stops at this point. There's a reason for it. Malachi Toney, way too expensive in my opinion. I wish if we could flip the 2 price tags, I'd be so happy between him and CJ Daniels. I'm never playing CJ Daniels at this price. I'm not a fan. I get it. He's caught 5 balls in each week. I'm just not a fan personally. Singleton in play for me for sure at 4,900. Don't mind that. If you're going to play a piece of this team, knowing that they're going to have to play from behind. Nimrod at 3,800, not awful. I just prefer Singleton as a player. JoJo Trader, man, you could really, you could try, but he's been banged up, so that's what makes me nervous there. So let's look at running backs real quick here. If I'm trying to play one, well, I want Desmond Reed in this team. Oh man, that's so close. I was gonna say I could get Carson Hansen and Jaden Lamar, and that'd be hilarious. But I'm 100 off. That means it's the nuts, because every time you're 100 off, that means you got the nuts on there. So that's what I've learned through the years. Anytime you come up with a lineup that's $100 from being right, it was the perfect lineup. You just couldn't make it work. Yeah, that's usually how it goes. Let's see. So we could go away from Desmond Reed if we really wanted to. I don't particularly want to, but you could go down to like a Baxter, Haynes. Don't like Haynes, though. It'd be Baxter. I was going down. I really wanted to get Carson Hansen in here, but Desmond Reed's got so much upside that you can't ignore it. 6,700. Man, I could do Haynes, but I don't want to. Nate Frazier, maybe. Don't hate that. Oh, no, that's Justice Haynes. Ooh, okay, never mind. We're going to do that. All right, let's just do that for the sake of the exercise. Let's do that. And then that leaves me with 4K. I have no problem with Richard Young if you wanted it. Hyman, sure. Don't hate that either. Let's go Richard Young for the banter. Don't love it, but I was looking to get a 3K wide receiver in. But, I mean, chance he falls in the end zone given this matchup. So, and he's priced well. But, like, that's something you could build off of. I think you got a ton of touchdown equity. Ideally, in the long run, I'm going to want to be able to do this as a backfield eventually. So you're going to have to save 700 somewhere, and maybe that's a quarterback or something. But I'm going to end up wanting to get to something like that with a like this, like that trio of backs. I want to pair Justice Haynes and Desmond Reed because of their upside, certainly. And this, obviously this doesn't work because I'm going to save 700 somewhere, and then I'll lose my stack on Lemon. So I'd have to figure that out in the long run. But you could go Jacoby Lane. You could try to switch off some of these guys, whatever. Actually, which that works if you go Jacoby Lane. And then now I can get Carson Hansen right here. So you can make that work if you wanted, but you just have to play with it. Obviously, this is the first time I've seen these salaries, so I'm going to have a lot of adjusting, and goodness knows if I'm ever even going to play this week. But my preferred stack partner for my Ava is Lemon, but Lane is going to score a good amount of touchdowns. So anyway, let's wrap this one up. I will have underrated game of the week coming out today as well with this content. And then tomorrow we should have Fanduel pricing. I'll take a quick look at that. Thursday, we'll start with lineup builder. I'm going to try to incorporate the DK late slate into a video. I'm not going to do a first look on it, but I'm going to do just a player pool analysis for that. Also, because that was requested, in the comments section, let me know if you want me to do a shorter, or let's say a 30 to an hour on Saturday morning with injury news or answer questions, yada yada. If that's something you'd be interested in, drop it in the comments. I would be willing to go live. It just means I can't really listen to College Game Day. I have to figure that one out, but no issues there because I'm getting a lot of, eventually we were going to have a ton of injury news and stuff to watch out for. Early in the season, it's kind of nice because there isn't a ton to pay attention to, but later in the year, it's going to get a little wild. And then maybe that's what I can do on Saturday morning is be live answering questions and breaking down the late slate, because that's typically when I start looking at it and building for that. So drop a comment if that's what you're interested in, and I will be back tomorrow to break down FanDuel, and I'll be live all week long. Goodbye.